I'm Faye from Costumery in the Clouds, and today I'm going to show you how to sew a buttonhole. First step is you need your sewing machine. You also need your buttonhole foot. So it comes with most sewing machines the same way as a standard foot and a zipper foot. So we're going to attach this first to the sewing machine. Right, so I'm just going to show you how to attach your buttonhole foot. You can see here. The standard foot is already attached, so I'm going to turn it off and take that one out. I can just unclip mine. Sometimes you need to press a button at the back. And then if we pop that in and lower the foot, it clamps hold of it. And voila, I'll just light that up so we can see. And then that moves backwards and forwards. And you can see that there is space here where the needle moves. That's to create the buttonhole. And there are also markings on the side here. Those actually go up in 0.5 of a centimetre, 5mm. So I've got my button. I've also got my button foot attached, buttonhole foot attached. I've got my fabric. This is just some scrap fabric that I'm going to use. What I would say is, before you do a final piece, before you attach the buttonholes to a beautiful garment that you have spent hours and hours and hours making, because it's usually the final piece to do, final stage of that garment, I would say you need to practice. Most buttonholes are on, for instance, 2 layers of fabric, so one folded over. So it's not good enough just to do it on a single layer. If that's the case, you need to make sure you're folding it over and doing it on a double layer. Sometimes, for instance, with cuffs, you've also got interfacing. If that's the case, you also need to add your interfacing. So you want to be practicing on exactly the same finished piece so that you make like for like. So I've already measured the button and it measures 2.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a buttonhole that's about 3 centimetres. So I've used my ruler to mark on where I want the buttonhole to go. So it's important to understand the placement that you want it within your garment. So now put that directly underneath and try and make sure that that centre bit lines up with this dot that comes on. I can also see that it lines up just about there. Right, so that's in place. If I just take you over to the dial here, you can see I'm already on the buttonhole foot. Yours might look something like this as well. It's basically 1, 2, 3, 4 stage buttonhole. Sometimes some fancy devices or buttonhole foots may require slightly less. So basically, as I said, step 1 is to go side to side. Step 2 is to then go back with the fabric coming forward. Step 3 is to go side to side again. And step 4, the fabric goes back and the buttonhole goes forward. And then to finish it off, we might just use a standard stitch as well. So we're starting in number 1, or A. So I'm going to lower down my needle and away we go. I'm going to do about 6 side to sides. And then changing the dial, I'll just show you that, changing the dial to 2, to B. So here we go. And then you just kind of let it pull itself forwards, don't pull it yourself, make sure it's in line. It should go on the left side of that line that I created. I'm just going to go a bit faster. There we are. You can see I've reached the other line. So I'm just going to turn that back now to the centre dial, which is number 1 and step 3 as well. And then 1, about 6. And then I'm going to turn it to the far right dial, which is step 4, and it's going to come back forwards as well now. So I'm back where I started. To finish it off, I could either change it to the centre dial again, though that might make it slightly bulky. So what I've always been told to do is change the dial to your standard stitch, or maybe a smaller stitch, and then just to position it slightly so that you can go backwards and forwards within that final stitch line. So backwards a couple. Ooh. Go, and that is done. So I can lift the foot up and take that out, and I can show you that it's been created. So you can see the tension on the left side is quite tight and it's slightly loose on the right. So what I would do now is I would adjust the tension slightly. Here is where my tension is. So I need to get in there and basically move it to the left or the right to figure it out. And that's why it's so important to do these tests. So I could do that again, and I could practice again. I'm not going to do that at this stage. I'm just going to show you what the next stage would be, and that is how to open it with a seam ripper. What I've done is I've put some pins in just very slightly below where it ends, where the stitching ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the seam ripper in there now and rip from the bottom to the top, or from about 2/3 of the way to the top, and then turn it around and do the same. And these pins are there so that they stop me from going straight through the wonderful button hole that I've just created. So if I just do that, mind your fingers, and then take it slow and rip all the way up. There we go. And the other side, the other way. There we go. And then you can take the pins out. You have a buttonhole. There's some fraying, so I'll just trim those. And there we have a buttonhole that actually works. Ta-da! And it's important to say as well that it's better to have it bigger than smaller. You can always add a couple more stitches in to make it slightly smaller if need be, but it will be difficult to unpick and start again. So practice, 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 and enjoy!